All right, here's that moment of truth where I gotta see it. I gotta see it. Here we go. All right, it looks like we're coming in on the YouTube. Rockfin, where are you? Are you alive? Is there anyone alive out there? Why is it taking a minute? All right, well, let's see. Are we on the YouTube? Let's see. We are on the YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Rockfin, where are you? There you are. There you are. Took you a minute. Took you a minute, but it's not a competition. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Good evening. Good morning. Got to my time zone last. Good morning. It's Monday. Did you have your Monday coffee? Did you have lunch? How was your weekend? Did all your dreams come true? Just some of them? That's okay. Hello to everyone in the future. Australia, New Zealand, you're a day ahead. You're in the future. Solve climate change and text us the solution. You got an extra day of science. So just solve it. No pressure. Text us. Hey, this is what you do. Turns out it was, whatever it is. Do it. Good to see everybody. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is doing great. Shout out to everyone who makes the show possible. Our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. And you can get it wholesale now because of the pandemic. So show them some love. Shout out to our friends at Triage Oil, TRIAGE oil. Or TRIAGE oil.com. Trendy name makes topical pain oil for your body. It works wonders. I use it for myself. And all of our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to get all the content from the streamers and writers and content creators that you know or love. It's a big old platform. They update it twice a day, so they keep you abreast on everything. To find out more about what they got going on, to subscribe to them, and to check out their Discord, they're dancing over at the Discord. Go to independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. All right, without further ado, my guest today, one of the regulars. You know her, you love her. She's got a new show out. We're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be talking about everything she's up to in New York, and we're going to be talking about some news of the day. You know the drill. Please welcome back to the show, Lauren Ashcraft. Lauren, what's up?
Oh my gosh, it's so great to be here. Thank you again for having me.
And you got your cool headphones.
I know these are my partner's gaming headphones because I just broke mine. Very long story about how they've been obliterated.
So, what games do you play? And I'm going to pretend like I have any idea what you're going to tell me. Like I could ask you any. Yeah, I don't understand that world at all. But do you play on Twitch? Are you like a Twitch gamer?
Yeah, I love it. I have played Fortnite and Dino Park. Is it called Dino Park? Yeah. Dino Park.
Is that like dinosaurs? Is that the deal?
It's like a zoo, but you get to make it for dinosaurs, and they give you these dinosaur eggs, and you have to hatch them, kind of like a Tamagotchi, but for 32-year-old women.
So it's like The Sims, but it's dinosaurs. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, speaking of The Sims, I love The Sims. I love Animal Crossing. I just got really addicted to Stardew Valley. And you can find me on Fortnite at Vote Ashcraft.
Have we ever discussed my history with video games?
No, I would love to.
Well, it's not all that. I, for some reason, even as a kid, video games always gave me a headache. So I was the kid that everybody loved inviting over to play video games because I never wanted to play. For me, it was just hanging out with my friends. I was the one, because, it's like you only got 2 controllers on the Sega Genesis. Remember those?
Right.
This is just like, hey, happy Monday. I'm going to date myself for like 10 minutes because I know nothing about online gaming.
I went over to my friend's house to play Sega Genesis, so at least I'm as old as you.
Yeah, but I was the kid that was always happy just watching. So it's like you only had 2 controllers. So everybody wanted their turn to play. But they're like, Ron never wants to play because it gives him a headache. So he's happy just watching and talking to us and keeping us company. What a guy.
That's a great friend. That's a great friend. I had a friend that really liked to come over and watch me play Grand Theft Auto, and it was a great dynamic because I was like, okay, I get to like not be a recluse, but I get to play this game.
I even kept it going through college too.
That's
like
great.
in college, I was still that guy. And they're like, Ron's the guy who won't mind like grabbing another beer for whoever needs one because he doesn't want to play. He's just happy to hang out. And I was like, yeah, we're just hanging out and getting hammered. You guys are doing your thing. That's great. This is
Well, I really wish that we would have gone to the same college, because I would have definitely invited you over to have beer while I play the video game.
Yeah. Yep. I was that. So I don't know. Maybe this new era of video games will be a headache-free experience for me. And I'll learn how to play. I mean, I had a PlayStation and I used it for like a week, and then I just, I had a basketball game that I kind of liked a little bit, and then I just, my sister used it, but I didn't, and that was just the end of it.
Oh,
that was the end of my video game career.
It's not for everyone. It's like, whatever floats your boat. I have been spending way too much time playing Stardew Valley, and I just finished getting all the animals in my farm, and now everyone who's watching knows that I'm a huge nerd. No, they knew that. They knew that as soon as I tuned in today, so all good.
So I got to talk to you about this. It's Monday, and a lot of times for Monday, I like to do like some Music Monday-centric stuff. So we actually have some news in the live venue performance world. But first, I want to go over to the show business world, because you're a fellow comedian, and Elon Musk, I'm sure you already know, he's going to be hosting SNL on May 8th.
You know what, SNL, like, I would do it for free. So I don't know, like,
great exposure.
What you think you're getting. I would do it for free, and can do my monologue myself. So you're really missing out here.
Who do you think's writing for him? Do you think it's just the staff writers, or do you think he has special writers on Mars helping him out?
I don't know, but like, what can you possibly joke about? Like, like I cheated my workers out of pay again.
Well, it's amazing. Like, and here's the headline for anyone who like hadn't heard about this. Elon Musk, he is hosting SNL. And, I get it. It's the big show. Like I get that. And it's on a big network. I get all that. But there's still got to be some amount of facade even where it's like you don't let billionaires run the show. Straight up let them run the show, literally hosting it. And there's two types of people in this world that you really can't trust. Well, there's a lot of types, but here's two very prominent types: billionaires and people who don't inhale. He is both. Elon Musk is both of those things. Elon Musk on Joe Rogan's podcast. Did you see that video when he didn't inhale?
What? No. Did he just keep it in his mouth, or what is that?
Yes, it was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh.
Joe Rogan offered him some, and of course he didn't want to look not cool, so he said yeah, and then he clearly did not inhale and just blew pot smoke out. And this is probably some really good stuff. Now, I will say this, kind of unfair.
Joe Rogan would have the top quality substance, so
I think that's a fair assumption. Absolutely. But to be totally honest with you, if I was in his situation, I would have said no. Like if Joe Rogan offered me pot on air, I would say no, thank you, but can we after? And I would just say, I'd be like, look, dude, you have the biggest podcast in the world. This is the biggest podcast in the world that I am on right now. And I am nervous that if I smoke, I will say something I don't want to say, or just like I'll get paranoid or so. You know what I mean? Like I would get in my head.
2 minutes later, you'll be sitting there like,
I'd be overwhelmed. I totally would. So I would say
like, are you
that.
Okay?
Right, but it's like, and Elon Musk could have said that, and that would have been totally reasonable if he just would have been like, you know what, I'm not really much of a user, and I'm nervous that if I smoked right now, I'd say something off the wall, so no thank you. But instead, he's like, oh no, I'm good, and then he just like blew smoke in the air.
But that takes a sense of self-awareness to be able to like know what you're feeling on the spot and to be able to say no. And I think that he lacks any self-awareness. So this all makes a lot of sense. But anyway, great for NBC for choosing this guy to do the whole first few minutes of your show.
They released this thing. It was Market Watch did it, and it was meant to be a joke, like it's a parody. But they said that they got a leaked transcript of his speech, like his monologue, excuse me, and it's just like they just blaked out everything except for like Dogecoin Mars, and like that was it. So that was like a satire piece from them, I guess. But
oh, that's funny.
yeah, but
I mean, I would believe it's the truth. It sounds accurate.
Well, do you think he'll be self-deprecating at all?
I guess it depends on what his writers hand him. So I think he's literally is just going to get handed a piece of paper. They're going to be like, memorize this. And he's going to be like, oh, shit, I can't. And then they're going to put it up on cue cards. And then he's going to read it. And you could have just hired me, NBC. You could have just hired me.
I was available this whole time.
I'm available all the time.
Well, do you think there's a chance? Because he definitely has an ego about him. I mean, all of them do. I mean, you can't be a billionaire and not have a ridiculous ego. I don't think.
Cheat your entire company out of money without an ego, I guess.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you can't, no one becomes a billionaire ethically. You screw over a lot of people. So ego's involved. So do you think he'll try to just do it himself? Like, do you think like will his ego allow him to have writers even? I wouldn't be shocked if he pulled a situation. Do you remember when that happened?
Yes.
Like the Donald. So for anyone who doesn't remember, because it is a minute ago, there was a Donald Trump roast, and this was before Donald Trump was president. This was in like 2014 or so. The situation from the Jersey Shore was one of the member of the dais or whatever, and he gets up there and he didn't use what his writers had prepared for him, and instead just did his own jokes, and they were not very good. And he bombed for like 10 minutes straight. He did not get any laughs at all.
I love it. I am so here for it being live because I personally hope that he goes off script and is like, I'm Elon Musk. I am a very cool guy. And I hope that you buy Tesla because I am very good at it. And
I'll make a prediction. I think he is going to go off script.
Yes.
I think his ego, people will write stuff for him and he will accept it. But I think in his mind, he's like, this is my chance to show them the Elon they don't know is in there. And really, he is the type of guy, he sees stand-up comedy or just someone giving a monologue on SNL, and he thinks, well, that's just a person talking. I can do that. People at the board meetings think I'm funny. Yeah, because their paycheck depends on you. Of course, they're going to laugh at all your dumb jokes when their paycheck depends. Exactly. I mean, you learn that real quick in life. Like I realized, I learned when I taught college, and every time I made like some kind of quip or something like that, and the students erupted like it was the funniest thing they ever heard, you learn that real quick. Like, yeah, you're being a little generous because I grade you. I get it. You're not fooling me. I mean, laugh away. I appreciate it, but I get it. Elon Musk wouldn't get that, though. He's like, I'm the funniest guy in the board meeting. I should be on SNL. I'm shocked it took them this long. I predict he goes off script, and it's going to be a beautiful train wreck.
I love beautiful train wrecks for my entertainment.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what, NBC? Maybe it was a good choice because we all get this material to roast Elon with for years.
Hey, I might try to. I mean, I doubt I'll watch it, but I'm going to try to catch it later after the fact. And I have not. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have not watched SNL in. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember the last time and it's just not something I seek out. Like, I'm not one of these people who like has some strong feeling one way or another. It's just not something I consume.
Yeah.
But like,
Kristen Wiig was my last favorite.
How long ago was that? When was that?
I don't know. Now I'm like dating myself because I don't know. She comes back every once in a while, and I try to tune in then. But I love her.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Well, so it's curious, and it bothers me. It does genuinely bother me that they're doing this. But I am curious what the train wreck's going to be. I mean, it's human nature to be kind of curious. And I do honestly predict. I don't know. Do you agree with my prediction, or do you think he's just going to do the script they give him?
I think you're right. I think his ego is incredible, and I think going forward, NBC should really look at like the local library, a diner. They should just cast directly, from the wild, instead of really looking into actors and people who have any sense of charisma.
That's, you know what? I actually think that's the way to kind of balance it out. If you're going to let some billionaire host SNL for no other reason than they're just some really, really rich person, you need to, the following week, you need to just pick someone random.
Yeah.
You need to just go to New York City and just walk around and just whoever be like, you know what? You want the gig? All right, you're in.
Yeah.
And that's how you balance it out. You're like,
Like,
all right,
go to Penn Station, just walk around Penn Station and be like, you, sir, you are eating Taco Bell. You have the job.
Yeah, the gig's yours. And then that person might go on a diatribe about Elon Musk. And then we've come full circle.
That's great. And also like the comeback, and I love it. It's art. I think we really NBC, if you are hiring casting directors, at Ron Placone, at Vote Ashcraft, our DMs are open.
That's awesome. Well, so staying on the late night theme, because there's something else peculiar to late night that I want to talk about. And it's this. Jimmy Kimmel, George W. Bush, President George Walker, Texas Ranger Bush. Jimmy Kimmel tweeted this on Wednesday. So it was just Wacky War Criminal Wednesday over on Jimmy Kimmel's show, apparently. And here it is. Do you want to? Can we watch some of it? Are you cool if we watch a little bit of it?
Of course, I'm really anxious to.
Have you seen any of it?
No, I saw the headlines.
Keeps all your trash all under
control.
Wow,
they gave me another ad. All right, cool. Well, we'll mute it until the ad's over.
Clorox.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's see. So it'll start after this.
President George is monetized.
Yes, tonight spent 9 years as co-owner of the Texas Rangers baseball team before deciding to go into his father's business, which is being president of the United States. He is now an artist with a new book of paintings and stories called Out of Many One, Portraits of America.
Don't you love that intro?
Wow.
Don't you love that intro? Yeah, he was in baseball. Then he was the president. And moving on, now he does a book.
Wow. And
he's got a book now. He's trying to sell his book.
Commissioned art to paint a diverse people onto the cover of his book.
Well, he did the paintings himself, didn't he?
Oh, no.
Oh, he didn't?
Oh, I don't know. He probably did.
Oh, okay. Because I thought, like, isn't it like they're his paintings? I mean, maybe the cover he didn't. I have no idea.
It was more a sense of social anxiety saying, oh, no.
So, all right. So, great intro. Right off the this is wonderful right away. Here we go.
America's immigrants. Please welcome President George W. Bush. Hello, Mr. President.
He still said president. So you can't gloss over that president part. When someone's president, you call them president for life. You can't just like make it a footnote in a bio when it's like you have to acknowledge them as president. Like it's just like, yeah, so this person, they graduated from Harvard, and then they wrote a column in the New York Times, and then they were senator for a long time. And now they have a book about bird watching. Like, you can't, come on. Anyway.
Yeah. It's also like he really missed the joke of joining the family's business of war crime.
Yeah. What if he would have said that? That would have been something if he said the family business of war crime.
Welcome, war criminal George Bush Jr.
Yeah, that would have been an amazing moment. Kimmel would have lost his job, but it would have been an amazing moment. All right, so here he goes.
It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Boy,
sounds like you got a bunch of drunks there.
Yeah.
Nobody sober would actually clap for me. Nobody. Nobody in their right mind would clap for me.
That's self-awareness right there.
There you go. Yeah, that is self-awareness. He's like, sounds like a bunch of drunks. They're so drunk, they don't know what name you just said. They're so hammered. They're so happy to be in a studio. They have no idea the name you just said, so they're cheering. That's good awareness. Good awareness, George W. Bush.
That's the least of it. I was hoping that you would be able to come out to see you in person and celebrate 420 together the night before the show.
A guy who totally demonized pot when he was the president. A guy who tried to put the drug war on steroids in every way that he could. Yep. And now they're making 420 jokes. Love it. This is just, USA. This is beautiful.
A+.
All right. And they're giggling.
How you doing? How's everything going? You're in your office right now?
Yeah, right here in Dallas. Thank you. Everything's great, Jimmy, and thank you for having me on the show.
Those are coloring books behind him.
I hope so. I bet they are.
They gotta be. Or they're like a paint by numbers book. That's gotta be all it is behind him. All right. I can only get through like maybe about 2 minutes of this, but let's keep going.
Show. It's I'm sorry I'm not there as well. Last time I was there, I had a blast.
I had so much fun with you last time. I think we had almost too much fun because I had so many questions that I didn't get to. And one of them, which was like something I really wanted to ask about, is something that it turned out Hillary Clinton wrote about in her book. She said that after Trump, you remember that guy? Yeah.
Right.
After Trump gave his speech at the inauguration, you turned around and said to a small group of people, including her, that was some weird. Oh, is that an accurate account of what was said?
You know, I can't remember.
That's a very good answer.
There's no way that laugh is real. It's like Chuck, like that's not a real laugh. Like I think deep down he doesn't mean any of this, and maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. But like, there's no way that laugh is real.
You really you kind of wonder who is the real, because I don't know. You know, just like you said, he put a lot of people in prison for weed. Now he's laughing about weed. Yeah. And he also killed a lot of people by dropping bombs. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Is his name Jimmy?
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know why I blanked on his name, but I'm sorry, Jimmy. You really missed the joke there when George Bush said he's having a blast.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No kidding.
It really hurts me. These are really inappropriate things that are just. This is a comedic commentary show, right?
It's late night. It's supposed to be, but here they are. Well, here's the part I wanted to show.
Can you remember? This is something I was thinking about today too. Do you remember the nuclear codes? I'm sure.
That's his question. That's a real question. Do you remember? They're joking about the nuclear. Yeah, you remember those things that you use to destroy countries for no reason at the behest of oil companies? Do you remember them? Do you remember those codes? What the? So here's his answer.
They changed them. I hope they changed them. But do you remember yours?
Let me tell you something. I couldn't even say the word nuclear.
In President Obama's book,
jeez. All right.
He preferred drone strikes instead of nuclear bombs. So
it's just, I tweeted this not too long ago. I had a chance to move to Italy when I was 20, because I have family over there, and they run a hotel, and they were like, look, you can come and you can just live with us, and there will be opportunities for you to go to school, and you can learn Italian properly. And, if we kind of sponsor you, you can just come over here and stay for a while. And I didn't do it because I and I don't regret not doing it. At the time I had just started in stand-up. I knew it was something I really wanted to do. And I knew it would be very difficult if I had to literally go to a different country to do it. If I moved over to Italy, I would have to like go over to England regularly to do it. That's not the case anymore, but I think that was the case back then. But anyway, so I didn't do it. And I think if I had a time machine and like I could go back to myself and I could just be like, hey, not trying to influence any decision because, you know, that's not how this is supposed to work. But I just want you to know one thing. They rehabilitate George W. Bush. And then I just flew away. I honestly think 20-year-old me would have been like, yeah, I'm going to Italy. I'm taking my chances. They rehabilitate George W. Bush.
You could have been Ron Placone.
Placone. Yeah, I mean, and it's so funny because now it's like George W. Bush is totally rehabilitated because, you know, because Donald Trump's so terrible. And you hear people say stuff like, oh, you know, like George W. Bush, at least he cared about this country and blah, 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 which is total nonsense, first of all. But second of all, it bums me out whenever I hear people say stuff like that. It bums me out that they're not going to remember this conversation when Donald Trump is rehabilitated, which will happen.
That's the whole thing is like in like 10 years, are we going to elect a literal demon? And then they're going to be like, remember when we had kind of a human Donald Trump as president? And they're going to like have him on Jimmy Kimmel's show. And they're going to be like, ha, ha, remember the time you like put all these kids in cages? Ha, ha.
I think it's going to be less than 10 years. I honestly think 2022, you're going to start to see like Trump's rehabilitation because he's always been just a media mogul guy. Like that's just what he's always been. And the media loved him. Like the corporate press loved Donald Trump. He was so great for their ratings. Mm-hmm. They freaking loved it. And whenever they were like actually concerned about how he was as a president, it's like Victor looking at the monster. Quite frankly, they made him possible. They gave him billions in free airtime. They made him possible. And so it's only a matter of time before they rehabilitate him. Mm-hmm. And it's, I think 2022, maybe it'll be later than that. And I'll be surprised, but my guess is 2022. I wouldn't be shocked if it's even sooner, but my guess is 2022. So this whole, you know, we just keep getting more and more extreme. I mean, our Overton window is so far to the right. We would need to buy a camera frame to be able to zoom out appropriately and to the right. And it's only a matter of time. They're going to rehabilitate Donald Trump. They'll rehabilitate whoever comes next. It's just amazing. I mean, when Gore Vidal said the United States of amnesia, he kind of nailed it.
I saw it was like a statistic recently that between like the year between George Floyd's murder and his trial, the amount of people who thought that Derek Chauvin was guilty decreased. So like you originally thought he was guilty, then like because it wasn't on the news every day, your attention dwindled and you're like, maybe Derek Chauvin's like not a murderer. And now he's officially found guilty. So like officially labeled a murderer for the rest of history. But what is that about us? That if it's not in your face every day, you're like, oh, Derek Chauvin, not that bad of a guy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's actually one point of optimism throughout that whole thing. The Derek Chauvin, at least the way I see it, and give me your opinion on this, but what I had been saying as the trial was going on, and, you know, what I'm still saying, I mean, obviously I'm thrilled he was found guilty. And I hope that the sentence is, you know, I hope he spends the rest of his life in jail. It's not over yet because he hasn't been sentenced yet. And of course, there's that fear that he's going to get a BS sentence. But hopefully it's a good, you know, it's a thorough sentence that he deserves. And but the one kind of glimmer of hope throughout all that, in addition to the guilty verdict itself, was this was the first time, at least that I can think of, where the trial really happened in the public spotlight while it was still fresh and bright in people's minds. Mm-hmm. And in the past, they would let enough time pass that people were on to whatever was next. I mean, we have these type of atrocities constantly, which is, you know, horrific beyond comprehension. So people were on to whatever's next. And that trial just kind of goes under the radar, and the cop gets at best a slap on the wrist, usually nothing at all. And the systemic rot continues. This time, it didn't play out that way for I would say at least the first time in recent history, maybe the first time ever, really. So that's reason for hopefully we're turning a better page. There is still a long way to go. By no means did the verdict mean, oh, we figured it out, we solved it, we're fine now. I mean, hell, there was another shooting that day. So we still have a long way to go to address the systemic rot that is still there, and nothing's being done about it. But, you know, there was a reason for for a glimmer of hope, and certainly a bit of relief at the verdict itself.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm really happy that he is behind bars. I hope that people are reevaluating. I actually saw a comment from somebody who claimed to be a cop on all the news, and he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, great, now I don't want to be a cop. People like me get arrested."
You shouldn't be.
Yeah, I was like, good.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those, I mean, they were kind of, what's the phrase everyone says? Like they were exposing their whole ass to us when they were saying stuff like that. I think it was a police department, and I don't remember which one, but they tweeted something along the lines of like, our entire way of policing is on trial. And it's like, yes, that's the point. That's the point. Because it's what you're doing is not policing. Yep. That's not policing. That's not serving and protecting what you're doing. You're a lawless murder machine gang is what you are. That's the frickin' problem. So yes, your way of policing is on trial, as it should be.
Yep. Agreed.
But so George W. Bush just but we can always rehabilitate war criminals. We can have billionaires host and rehabilitate war criminals. And you know, and it's one of those things where you just have those moments where you just kind of take a step back and you think, what is this country I live in? What is this country I live in? And it's like, and I was feeling that even when, you know, during, you know, like he asked them about Osama bin Laden and stuff like that. And, you know, obviously I Osama bin Laden was a terrible person. I'm not implying otherwise, but I mean, do you remember like when they would have those like Time magazines where there would be on the cover of the magazine, there'd be like the corpse of somebody we killed? And you're just kind of like, this is creepy and messed up. And what kind of, if I was in a different country and I saw shit like that, I would think this must be a very backwards, violent place. And guess what? The United States is a very, very backwards, violent place.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about like maybe moving to Italy. I lived in Germany my senior year of high school and then went back to work a little bit during college. And they really view us. They really view us as a backwards, violent culture. Just something as little as like they don't air the kind of like violent programming that we do here. They wouldn't put stuff like a dead body and like a public execution of Gaddafi like on live TV and stuff like that. So but like one of the things that we talked about, like me and my host family, is like they wonder why we're so backwards about like, I guess nudity is like a really big deal in the United States and on our TV. And it's so backwards because it's like, okay, well, like we all have bodies, but like we don't all go around murdering people. And maybe that's what should be normalized.
Oh, absolutely. Well, especially like over in Germany, I forget what it's called completely. So if you know, let me know. But they have that thing. It's kind of like, I guess it's sort of like a spa type deal, but everyone's just nude, which I guess we have that to an extent here. But it's like a bigger, extensive thing, and it's not uncommon for just families to be there. Like, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
in the town that I lived in, which I said somebody is asking what town I lived in. It's Wolfsburg, where they make Volkswagen cars. And they had something called a Schwefebad, which is like a sulfuric bath spa house.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, maybe. But like, also I have family in Japan, so whenever I went over there, like me and the whole family went to like a nude bath together, and I was like very nervous about it. But they just go, and it was like not a big deal. It was separated by gender, so I just met my entire female Japanese family naked. But I mean, like, other cultures just don't think anything of that. But they're like, why do you guys like have so much death and blood on your TV all the time? It's very different.
Yeah, it's so interesting where, I mean, I can think of an interesting, for instance, in my life. So I have a good friend who's from Belgium, and he came over to the States for a while, and he visited me in Pittsburgh, which is where I was living at the time. This was a while ago. And he had never been to an East Coast or Northeast, rather, city at that point. So he had never been to a place in the United States that had like older architecture. He had only been to like the West Coast. So it was interesting for him, like seeing a place in the United States that parts of it kind of reminded him more of, like Europe and stuff. So it was really intriguing to him. So he liked like walking throughout the city, and he liked going into places like churches and stuff like that, just because the architecture was a little more similar, and it was just fascinating to him. And he like had this moment where he was really like, we were just in this church, and he was sort of just, oh, wow. And I was like, is this like special architecture or something? What are you really intrigued by? And he told me it really blew his freaking mind, not in a good way, that we had, in the church we were in, there was a United States flag.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something you never think about when you grow up here. But he's like, you would never ever see that in Belgium. You would never see, like, we would never have something like a flag, that stands for, something political and something like we just would never have that in a church. Like we don't do that. Like you would never do that. And it'd be a big problem if anyone did something like that. When we're here in the United States, that's just something we do that quite frankly, we shouldn't do. I think he's right. Why should something like that be in a church?
I mean, I still think about how everybody was so mad that, football players would kneel during the anthem because people that look like them keep getting murdered by police.
Yeah.
But like, God forbid we insult the flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a lot of questions. And actually it took me until like I was 31 years old to be like, oh shit, like I pledged allegiance to a flag every morning of my public education. That's a little weird.
I stopped doing it.
And I wish I did.
They didn't well, yeah. I'm not like, it wasn't like I had good reason necessarily everyone has good reason, but like me as a kid, it was just, I listened to a lot of punk rock music. I didn't have any political views or any really world perspective. I just thought kind of was like, yeah, you tell me to stand up, I'm not going to stand. But I was like, I did relatively okay in school, and I wasn't like a bad kid or anything. So the teachers would just let it go. They're like, I'm picking and choosing my battles. This isn't one to pick and choose. So I wouldn't stand up for the pledge, and they'd be like, why aren't you standing? And I would just say, I'm an anarchist, which I didn't even know what that meant. But I would just say it. I thought I was being funny, and they would just not mess with me. So it's not like I had these in-depth views at a young age. I just, thought it was, I was being, whatever. Like, I'm standing up to the man. And even though that's a good thing to do, I don't really know why yet, but I'm doing it.
You were born a nonconformist.
Yeah, but I learned why later. So anyway, I want to do one more headline with you, and then I want to talk some general stuff about your new show and what's going on in New York. But first, I want to do this. So, are you familiar with the Save Our Stages Act?
Oh my gosh.
It's going back
Please
a minute.
remind me. Yeah,
Totally,
remind
no
me.
worries. All good, because it is going back a hot minute. But it's Music Monday, so this is a very appropriate day for this kind of story. And this was actually sent to me by Edwin, one of the patrons. Edwin, thank you so much again for that, Edwin. But I wanted to share it today on the show. So a quick refresher: the Save Our Stages Act was a bill that provided relief basically exclusively to live performance venues, music venues, because look, live venues, and Lauren, you're a comic too. We all know this. Live venues were the first thing to close. They will be the last thing to reopen.
Mhm.
Some of them are reopened to some extent now, but they're still sort of in the, they're still sort of in the dark, to use some theater lingo. And, they've been hit very hard.
Yeah.
So the Save Our Stages Act was actual relief to these venues. And it wasn't a flawless piece of legislation. A lot of the relief was in the form of grants, which is awesome, but some of it was in the form of loans, which is not so great. When someone has had to have their doors closed for 13 months because of a global pandemic, it's not a good thing to make them go into debt. However, a lot of venues, they basically said, look, we don't want to take on some debt right now, but this is the difference between us staying open or closing. So we'd rather have that than closing our doors, which I totally get. If I was in that situation, I'd say the same thing. Hey, I'd rather just deal with this after and get through this than have to say goodbye.
Mhm.
So the Save Our Stages Act had a lot of support. We talked about it a lot on this show, and it did pass in December. So what ended up happening? It passed in December. Now, this headline says 164 members of Congress send letter to SBA urging launch of SVOG applications. So SVOG is the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, which was formerly known as the Save Our Stages Act. It's just the formal name of the grant that's part of the Save Our Stages Act. So the bill was signed into law in December. They handed it over to the SBA, and they allowed the SBA to manage the applications for it. And guess what happened? Well, they started it on April 8th, and the website crashed.
Yep. Yeah.
So there's still no relief. Still no relief has gone out. But here is a breaking update, folks. And this is pertinent to literally today. So today being, depending on when you hear or listen to this later, today is Monday, April the 26th. So here's an update from Twitter today. The SBA Gov Shuttered Venue Operators Grant will reopen for applications at noon. And I'm assuming they meant Eastern time. So applications have just recently reopened. So we'll see what happens this time. But so that's what happened. They passed the bill, which was great. And then they slowly rolled it out, let the SBA handle it. The SBA screwed it up. And now, hopefully it works this time. And venues are still struggling. And we'll keep an eye on this. We started covering this story from the beginning. So we will definitely keep covering it and seeing what happens. But it's so remarkable that they didn't just do what other countries did, where you just kind of froze things so that actual small businesses were okay. Instead, what we did was we did this PPP scam, which is what it was, because it allowed all these big corporations to qualify for it. And it was a first come, first serve thing where they just gave the money to the banks, said, do what you want. So who's going to get it when it's first come, first serve? First of all, is it going to be the actual small business, or is it going to be Steak Shack and Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, who has lawyers working around the clock on their application? We know the answer to that.
Yeah, that's what I keep thinking is like my partner works for like a 4-person small company, and they had a terrible time trying to get the help that they needed to make it through the crisis. And I'm just like looking around, like I used to be able to walk to a comedy club, which was a great privilege and really cool. They've closed. The other closest one is closed. And then another one that I was a regular at has closed. So like it's just a little too late. And I think there just has to be an immense amount of help to try to find the previous business owners and like help them buy back their businesses. Because what's actually happening is that these big developers and mega companies and mega lords are like, oh yeah, great, this club's closing, so they're going to sweep in and try to buy it. and soon 3 companies own all of New York City.
Yeah. Well,
I
and
think
the
that's
same
the
things.
plan.
That's what's happening all around the country. And yeah, you're absolutely right. That is the plan. They're hoping that these mega companies are just going to gobble up the small businesses. They're going to gobble up, and we are entering like a Demolition Man style phase where every restaurant's going to be freaking Taco Bell. And it is
Yeah.
disturbing. And so this is something that I wanted to talk to you about that I think we kind of naturally transitioned into. We talked about, you know, our generation and the younger generation are facing the struggle of, gee, is it perhaps inevitable that I might need to leave this country or I might need to go somewhere? What's going to happen? And I was having this conversation with somebody recently where we were talking about like just the whole New York LA thing. And it's like when you go to New York or LA, you are essentially making this is the way they put it, you're making a bargain, which I think is a very good way to put it, where you're saying, I am going to deal with the insane high cost of living, make peace with the fact I may never buy a house, listen to the sirens. I can hear the sirens out your window. You
I'm
know,
sorry.
no worries. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. But I mean, it just highlights what we're talking about. Like you take these trade-offs. And you're like, I'm going to deal with that. And not saying that it doesn't have its perks too. New York is an absolute wonderful city. LA is an absolute wonderful city. I have lots of love for both of those places. But there's certainly a lot of things you sacrifice to be there. You may never have a yard. You may never, just all these things. And for me, it's worth it. And for you, I'm sure it's worth it too. Or you wouldn't be there. Like neither of us would be. But now you kind of wonder, is that bargain still going to exist where it's like, okay, this place provides me with the resources and the potential to do something where nowhere else in the world really does. I mean, especially if you're talking like comedy, whatever. I mean, it's pretty much New York, LA, London. Those are the big. But as we enter a very digital age, more so than ever before, and as things are just straight up changing as far as how we are able to behave as a society. And the pandemic has kind of changed society permanently. What if that bargain doesn't exist anymore? I mean, first of all, do you think it will? Do you think that New York and LA will still remain the kind of capitals, so to speak? Or do you think that's just going to change completely?
I think that we are seeing a lot of move to suburbia. I know a lot of people that were on my campaign team, a lot of my fellow comedians, a lot of actors and stuff. There just hasn't been any kind of employment or way to stay here. They've lost their leases, they've moved. And like, what's it going to take for them to come back? They're not going to come back and without a job pay X thousands of dollars for rent. So I think like right now, the way to get people back and to bring back culture and to stop this like slow drift away from our cities is to lower rent and put into place protections that keep landlords from being as greedy as they are. But like my partner and I are leaving this apartment complex because they refuse to lower the rent, even though they're advertising the same size apartments at so much less than
Really?
current tenants are paying, which I think should be illegal.
Yeah.
Like basically existing tenants of all of these buildings that are here throughout New York City, we're getting screwed. And whenever it comes time that your lease is up, you have a choice to like pay a third of the cost to move across the river. A lot of people are moving to New Jersey right now, which I don't blame them. I am going to do everything I can to stay, but frankly, it's very hard.
Yeah. Do you think that they'll still be the production capitals?
I think so. I just don't know who else would have the infrastructure. Like, and
Good
also,
point.
I mean, like LA has all the studios and we have studios here and stuff, but I just think about like the talent has left or is leaving or is thinking about leaving or is trying really hard not to leave, but what's it going to take for people to want to move back here rather than live in middle New Jersey and commute here? Because we're losing a lot of working class people that really want to be here, and I don't see us taxing the rich and kind of redistributing that money and putting into place protections that we can stay here and not have to worry about being kicked out by exorbitant rent next year.
Right. Well, I think spreading out is completely inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're talking people going across the river to Jersey, I mean, yeah, like that, because that's been happening for a long time in general. I mean, that's been happening. I mean, you know, you look at the Bay Area, it's like they kicked the creative class out of San Francisco. So they went to the Bay Area. Now the Bay Area is getting too much. So everyone's going to Portland. I mean, all that was going on long before this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been really exacerbated. I mean, it's just been really put on steroids as a result of the pandemic. So I think that is pretty much inevitable to an extent, because it's like people are going to want to stay in the area, but they're also going to be realizing that they might not need, I mean, especially here, like I live in an area that I never thought I'd be able to live in because of just, well, I need to be closer to this, and this. Well, you know, that changed when my wife got a job in the area. So we were like, well, we should probably go out here. And B, so much is, you know, digital now and on Zoom. And obviously that's going to change once things slowly reopen. But some of it's still going to remain to the point where it's like, well, now I feel like I can just live in a place like this and be just fine. Which is actually great because I love my neighborhood. So I'm actually happy about that. But what I wonder in the big scheme of things, and I think you're probably right that like because of the infrastructure, it's not going to change completely. Like I think that's likely the case. Yes. Mm-hmm. Can I know that for sure? Well, no, I don't know that for sure. But I think like if that bargain doesn't exist anymore, then I'd really have to ask myself, well, why? I mean, is it really justified for me to stay here?
Yeah, and I think like the only real answer is to like right size the costs. And if our leaders don't do that, then they should expect a continuation of talent to leave. And I mean, like artists and creatives are what make both of our cities the special places that they are. Along with like very diverse cultures and I mean there's a lot of really cool the food, there's a lot of stuff that brings people here, but like without the artists, I like what are LA and New York?
Yeah, exactly. They're just really big places. They're just really big places. So in closing here, let's talk about your new show.
I'm so excited. It's called Biting Commentary. I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers because I'm really big into accessibility. And at 1,000 subscribers, you can actually auto caption your YouTube. They give you that option. So if you are listening right now, it's Biting Commentary on YouTube. And I would love if you go over and subscribe because that helps me be more accessible and helps me reach more people with content. So what I'm doing on that show is I love small businesses, especially women-owned, minority-owned small businesses. So I've been trying out snacks, eating them alive. I guess taste test, if you will. That's the biting double entendre. I'm getting so nerdy on myself. So I eat, I warm up. I'm the warm-up act of my own show, and then I bring up a guest that eventually it'll be you, Ron.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you. But I've had the host of the Asian Comedy Fest come on and talk about stopping Asian hate. Yesterday, I had Kat Bresler on, who helps to run the People for Bernie camp account and does a lot of organizing, but now is in charge of helping to organize the process around selecting who's on community boards in New York City. So it's that was a very local episode, but they won't always be. And I'm highlighting things that I wish mainstream media would cover, but they just don't give a shit about. So it's stuff that really means a lot to me, and I hope to you too.
So tell me, give me an update on the community garden, as people who have seen you on this show before know, and anyone who follows you knows, because you post updates and stuff. You're active with a community garden in New York City.
Yeah.
How's that going? What's new?
Yeah, so we just did a cleanup. It's really wonderful. Me and basically the man with the idea is Sugar Ray, who is a leader in the Queensbridge community, as well as a really wonderful organizer and fellow gardener, Megan Stotts. We love to meet. We have really wonderful discussions together, but we're like, you know what? It's not as cold as it used to be. It's time to start thinking about what we're going to have planted there this year. So we did a whole litter cleanup on Earth Day, got 4 bags filled with trash. I got a phone book, by the way. Who carries around a phone book and then leaves it in a community garden? I have a lot of questions, but we did
I didn't know they still made phone books, to tell you the truth.
I don't think they do. Anyway, somebody had one and decided to bring it to the community garden and leave it. So that was in my bag. And I also called a towing company on a company that parks their tractors there. So anyway, I come to the garden, we get stuff cleaned up, and I'm really excited to kind of watch. Sugar Ray will come on the show, and I saw somebody else talk about the general strike on my show. Ron, I was actually thinking about having you on to talk about that, so we'll have to talk offline.
Yeah. I mean, I'm for it. I think we need it. I don't know. I don't know what better solution there is to all this. We have to have a general strike.
Yep.
I wish I knew how to make it a reality. I don't know all the ins and outs of making something like that a reality, because we are in an unprecedented moment in history, in society, technologically, and physically, you know. So I don't know all the ins and outs of making that a reality, but I do firmly believe it has to happen. There is no other choice. And I'm willing to do anything I can to help make it a reality.
Well, I do know somebody who's getting really, really excited about helping to organize it. So maybe it could be an episode with the 3 of us, and we can chat about.
That'd be great. Yeah. I mean, that'd be great. I mean, I know some of the things that you would really need to make it successful. And I think it's obvious things that we all know, like you would need a massive amount of mutual aid that's going to be readily available, because basically people need to look out for each other while it's going on. You would need everybody on board. I mean, so it's not, but it's not impossible. I mean, they just did something like that over in India. I mean, it's not impossible. It's just, I mean, it's a pretty tall glass of water. It's not a small glass of water by any means, but
yeah,
that's what happens when you need systemic change, like true systemic status quo shifting change. It is a tall glass of water. But the other option is a hell of a lot worse, because the other option is just descend into complete neo-feudalism. So
yeah,
that's not an option.
You helped me to talk about what even is my show. We'll talk about stuff like this, and you get to tell me what to eat. So that's fun. Apparently there's something called psychedelic water, which is totally legal everywhere, strangely.
What does it do?
Apparently you feel the effects of psychedelics. I don't know if it's real psychedelics or just something that plays with your brain, or lots of caffeine. I don't know what it is, but that's been requested. So we could have psychedelic water and talk about the general strike.
I mean, I have
Live.
never heard of psychedelic water until literally right now. If you just said psychedelic water to me, I would assume it was a band, and I would assume they were a jam band. So
That
I
sounds
didn't
like a
know.
great band.
I'm not a big jam band guy, but I would check out psychedelic water. But but it sounds like something I'd be intrigued to try. No, knowing nothing about it until like right now. But based on the
Well,
way you described it, I think I'd be in.
we'll talk offline. We'll figure out what's the best fit for us.
I've had CBD water before. Well, I've had that a bunch of times.
That would.
And I've had like
nap.
THC water too.
Oh.
Where it's like that's a good thing. Like if you're ever in a situation, which I was in this situation before, like occasionally I'll just like do a dry out month, where it's like just no booze for the month.
That's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a very big drinker, like I'm really not, but like every now and again I just I'm gonna dry out. So that's a great thing if you're out at a bar and you still want to feel kind of you still want to get a little loopy, and you'd like to have a beverage like everyone else. That's when that is great. If you're one time I was in Portland actually, and I was drying out for the month, and they had like THC soda. So I just win-win.
Soda.
I still get to get a buzz going. It was basically just sparkling water with THC, but they called it like a THC soda. And yeah, I just drank it. And I'm like, I feel like I'm having like a drink actually, but I'm technically not. I'm still abiding by my dry outness. So everybody wins.
I am
Lauren,
for it.
Where does everyone go to find all this awesome new stuff?
Oh, so if you go to YouTube, just type in biting commentary. That should be me. Apparently, I need to exist for a month before I can get a custom URL. So you just got to go to YouTube and type biting commentary. You can also follow me at Vote Ashcraft, which is my last name.
Right on. Biting commentary on YouTube, at Vote Ashcraft on Twitter. Jason, thank you very much for the super chat contribution. You say, I vote for psychedelic water.
Yeah.
Psychedelic water for the win. Psychedelic water for the win. And guys, would someone please smash the like button? We are almost at 100. Help us get there. We are almost at 100 likes. Please help me get there. Help make my Monday. And thank you for that super chat contribution. And Bubblegum Douche. I love your handle. Bubblegum Douche over on the Rockfin, giving the Rockfin tip. Thank you so much for that Rockfin tip. You've been talking about a strike for a while now. Thank you. We need more and more people getting this information out. Thank you for that, Bubblegum Douche. Thank you very much for the tip. And hell yeah, general strike now. So thank you, Jason. Thank you, Bubblegum Douche. And we broke 100. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. Check out Biting Commentary on YouTube. Follow Lauren at Vote Ashcraft. And I'll see you on the last Monday. Again.
Yay!
And
it's always a pleasure.
Thanks so much for stopping by. And I'll see everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Savage Joy is on the show tomorrow. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. And oh man, what's your cat's name again? I always forget.
So we have Queenie and Ruth.
Yes,
and Ruth.
Queenie
actually,
and Ruth.
Can you bring me Ruth? Ruth, we'll get her to wave. She might kill
Ruth
me,
is
but that's
camera
okay.
friendly.
She's she gets a little angry. There's Ruth.
Is Ruth the new one?
No, this is
okay. Queenie's the new one. Oh yeah, she's out.
This is Queenie. Queenie likes to be on camera.
Now is Queenie the one you just got recently, right?
Yes, and she was supposed to be a 3-legged cat, but she has four legs. So we were ready to adopt a tripod.
Yeah, what happened with that? Why? I remember you told me that, but she clearly has 4 legs. What happened? Did they think they had to remove it and then they didn't, or?
She's a doll face, and she was found in someone's backyard in Brooklyn with a leg bent and broken in 2 places, and they had her in a little baby teeny tiny kitten cast, and I guess she just healed. They thought because she is so young and her bones are still growing that it was better to remove it, but here she is with 4 paws.
That's so great. That is so great.
Zion's Mission. It's the rescue org is called Zion's Mission, and they do really wonderful rehabilitatory work. So they saved her little kitten legs.
Aw, that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. I mean, she still could have had a fine life as a tripod, but it's great that she healed. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
thank you.
So Queenie and Ruth and Lucy, they all say meow, and Lauren and I say peace, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.